Well, I'm telling you, if you're wondering why I look a little more tired than normal, if you've looked tired since we've known you, it's because there's been a lot of celebrating going on. This is the 500th episode of Live from My Office. How cool is that? 500 episodes. The good news is I've got this podcasting game pretty much to myself. But I do realize there are other podcasts that you could listen to if you wanted to. I appreciate you listening to this one and subscribing and following and doing all of those things that you do. I appreciate it very much. I also appreciate it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you check it out there, the Live from My Office YouTube channel. I appreciate it if you read what I write on Substack, on the Steve Cochran page on Substack. Thank you for that as well. And I appreciate when you come out to the live shows that we're going to be doing this fall, including a big one coming up in 7 days. This is August 1st. On August 28th, my friend and yours, Mark Giangreco, the greatest sports and entertainment caster ever. I say that because every night on multiple newscasts, in 4 minutes or less, he would entertain and inform you like nobody else ever has or ever will. Nobody better. And Mark Giangreco has forgotten more great sports stories than anybody else will ever remember. If you think about Chicago, and even though we're on kind of hard times with winners now, Giangreco did sports in this town since the early 80s. He knows everybody. And if there's 1,000 sports stories in the Windy City, he was there for every one of them. Michael Jordan loved him. Michael Jordan didn't like talking to anybody in the media. He talked to Mark. And Ditka loved him. Ditka loved? Oh, yeah. And just it goes on and on. So here's what we're going to do. Mark Giangreco is going to join me at the White Eagle Golf Club in Naperville on August 28th, 7 o'clock showtime. And you can get tickets. You just follow the link in the show notes or on any of the social medias with me. And we'll put it up at CochranShow.com on the website as well. And you can click right there and get tickets. And you're going to want to be there because there's things Mark Giangreco will say that he can't say in other places or didn't say in other places. So great stories, a fun night, lots of laughs, and stories about the greatest legends in Chicago sports from a guy who knew them all, covered them all, talked to them all, and they all talked to him. The great Mark Giangreco joining me August 28th, 7 o'clock at the White Eagle Golf Club. Again, social media links will hook you up for tickets. We'll also put it in the show notes for this episode and on the website at CochranShow.com. Nice little kickoff for our 500th episode, where our special guest today is none other than Dr. Kevin Most. You might remember David Letterman had Bill Murray on his first show and Bill Murray on his last show. Dr. Most was our guest on the first podcast, and he is our guest on this 5th episode. Nobody has ever communicated complicated medical information in a simpler, easier to understand form than Dr. Kevin Most. Dare I say, through all those years on the radio and everything on the podcast, I believe he's saved lives with the advice he's given out and the information he brings. Couldn't be a better guy, a great doctor, a great medical mind. And we talk about the state of medicine. We talk about what's going on with things like GLP-1s in this episode, and we talk about health in general in the country. And we have some laughs along the way. The 5th episode of Live from My Office. And don't forget, we have a second podcast now. It's called Anything But Politics. And get this, the next time we do that, which is August 4th and 5th, special guest will be Spike O'Dell. Well, yeah, the legends, rolling them out. Giangreco live, Dr. Most now, Spike O'Dell. How do I get the legends to talk to me? Certainly not the money. So it's a good run we're on here. We're glad you're a part of it. So thank you for that. I owe a big thank you to Ross Cochran. My son is a producer of Live from My Office. Not a single one of these 500 episodes would have ever made it to posting without Ross and the work he does. I don't understand any of it. I don't know how it happens. I just know that it does, and that's great. So thank you, Ross. And for those of you who do subscribe and follow, tell a few hundred friends to do the same, and just know that Ross is the one that's getting this done if you enjoy what we do on Live from My Office. All right, enough of this. Thank you, Apt, Apt Electronics. And in honor of our 5th episode, the phrase that pays that could get you an app gift card this week is, I can't believe you are still doing this. That's right. I can't believe you are still doing this. If you send me an email with that phrase, I can't believe you're still doing this, to thecochranshow@gmail.com, include your home address, and I will give away as many app gift cards as I can. These are $50 app gift cards, and we'll give away as many as we can, as we will if you order Survive 2025 gear, shirts and hats. You pretty much pay for itself because I throw an app gift card in there. Again, while supplies last, and thank you, app, for all of that. All right, I think the detail work is done. Let's get on to our guest on the 500th episode of Live from My Office. It's Dr. Kevin Most. Well, I'm amazed. I'm stunned. Look at me. See how stunned I am? Don't I look stunned?
Yes.
It is the 500th episode of Live from My Office, and there's no more perfect guest than the guy, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can see now on screen. If you're listening only, it's Dr. Kevin Most, who was the first guest. And he's been on many times in between, and now he's number 500. We're even getting a cheer from one of your dogs.
Yes.
Which one is that?
That's Joey.
Oh, wait.
Joey's saying, hey, how about me?
Yeah, and congratulations is what I got out of Joey. 500 episodes, and you have been everybody's favorite guest on the radio through all those years, and now on the podcast as well. So thank you for that.
Steve, you're welcome. Do you know how many bets I had to pay off, though, on the over-under on how many shows?
Well, the difference in doing the podcast is I'd have to fire myself.
Oh, that's a good
point. Yeah. So it's likely to be safe. So tell us about you, because I get asked about you all the time. I mean, a couple times a week, people come up and say nice things, and they'll go, how's Dr. Most? What is he doing?
You know, things are great. As you know, I left Northwestern a little bit about a year and a half ago, which was good. You know, it was a time for me that I allowed my successor, where I allowed a very good handoff. I was allowed to hand off to him. And had I not, and I continued to stay, I don't think this individual who's there now, Dr. Tom Moran, who you know.
Oh, yeah, great guy.
Would not be in that position. And to protect CDH, I said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna step down. And I did it abruptly, which was part of the Northwestern way to do it, which is probably the only thing I didn't appreciate. But overall, it's been great. Been very fortunate. People say, how's your health? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm probably the healthiest I've been in a long time. So I left on really good terms, and it's worked out well. And I'm just dabbling a little bit here, but able to spend a lot more time in North Carolina than in Chicago. Again, I say we don't shovel rain in North Carolina, but you know, it's kind of nice to be down here. It's a lot more relaxing. The alarm clock doesn't go off whenever I get
Which
up.
is different.
Oh, 100%. You know, getting up at 5 o'clock every morning and now getting up at 7:30 is just totally different.
I know you get called about things all the time, about this job or that job, and you know, there's this ongoing discussion of concierge medicine, and is that catching on? It appears to catch on. Does any of that feel like drawing you back in?
Yeah, a little bit of it is. Our good friend Peter DeYoung, who lives down here in North Carolina, he and his wife, they're like, when are you going to join this concierge practice? And I'm fortunate. I'm licensed to practice here in the state of North Carolina, licensed to practice in Illinois, and licensed to practice in Maryland. So I certainly could. My heart is going to be more into doing a free clinic instead of the concierge clinic. You know, go and take care of those who don't have the money to have a concierge.
Sure.
I think it'd be very rewarding, and I think it's something that I'm going to do. I just have recently getting ready to be introduced to the director there, who I hear is a phenomenal person, and I worked with the DuPage Health Coalition for many, many years. Actually, when I retired, I was chairman, and that's the group of patients that really appreciate it. You know, they listen to you, they take good care of themselves, and they're not calling you saying, hey, I have a cough, I need an antibiotic. So,
well, that's the thing, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but with the concierge medicine, you know, somebody will pay a fairly significant chunk of money, but then you as the concierge doctor agree to be on call whenever, wherever, and all you need is one or two hypochondriacs in the mix, and you're going to be busy.
Yeah, you know, Personalized medicine is good because the doctors that do personalized medicine, instead of having a panel size of 3,000, 4,000 patients, they limit their panel size down to anywhere from 300 to say 600. So they can spend, they do that physical that takes an hour and a half instead of 15 minutes.
Right.
They're there when you need them. You're always talking to the same doctor. There's not 7 partners that you're dealing with. So it certainly has a place in medicine, and I think it's going to get more and more popular. But I think my heart right now is going to be go back and take care of those underserved, take care of those portion of the population that is often overthought.
When you and I first met through our friend Spike Odell, who is going to be on the second podcast I'm doing called Anything But Politics, Spike is actually bringing back an old bit he did on the show. We'll be talking about that. And he's going to release it, I guess, on Facebook, but we'll find out. But in the meantime, I think I met you through Spike right around the time you were seeing patients, and a lot of patients, at one of the convenient care facilities. And I know once you became the director of the docs that a lot of that patient care went away. So I could see you scratching that itch because I know how much you like the interaction with patients.
Yeah. It is funny meeting Spike. It's a quick story. The Neediest Children's Fund was having their fundraiser up at Lake Lawn Lodge, charity fundraising golf tournament. And I was working with Peter DeYoung, and he'd keep going on the walkie-talkie. Hey, Doc, can you do this? Hey, Doc, can you do that? And Spike said, hey, why does Peter call you Doc? And I said, well, he calls me Doc because I'm a doctor. He goes, you're a doctor? He goes, I thought you ran golf tournaments. I go, no. Peter's been a friend. So that's when Spike said, well, would you ever be interested in coming on the show? And then from there, we parlayed into you were in the afternoons at that time, and it worked out.
And did you notice that Spike or I, neither one of us was afraid to call you and say, could you give us more of your free time?
Hey, it's been fun. You guys have done more to educate the general public about medicine at the right times on the right topics. It's been phenomenal.
Well, listen, buddy, it's all you. It's all you. And trust me when I tell you, people miss you. Now, you've got, for someone like me that loves golf, you've got a kind of a golfer's dream life. You get to play in and around the Pinehurst area all the time. You play the best golf courses all around the country. Now, you do a lot of work in regards to that as well through a foundation that you're rightfully proud of and got your college education through. And the FedEx Cup playoffs are about to start. One of those is the BMW. And each year through the Western Open and now in the BMW, you've been a tournament doctor. Is that happening again?
Yeah, it is. And actually, anybody's listening who knows me well, they're like, all right, I understand why he has a license in Illinois because he's there, North Carolina.
Why Maryland?
And why would he have a license in Maryland? The great state of Maryland requires you to have a license to practice medicine. And since I'll be there, I had to jump through their hoops to join. So I'll be at Caves Valley August 11th through August 18th. And this year's going to be a little different. If you remember going back, I've been the medical director for Western Golf for over 30 years. Back when they were playing the Western Open with a field of 156 players and Cog Hill and Conway and all the places that we went, also taking care of not only players, but also the patrons and the media and whoever.
Sure.
So I had a team at that time. I'm fortunate now that part is being done by other doctors in Maryland. So I take care of the players, their wives, the family, the kids, the media, and the sponsors. So
well, that's fun.
So I'm like the personalized doctor for the tour. I only have 50 patients that week instead of 156.
Yeah, and you might even see a little golf with that program, I would think.
Yeah, you get to see a little bit, but you get to see the same 2 holes, which is the 9th green and the 18th green, because you have to be up at the clubhouse pretty much the entire time. And it's fun. It's more of a peds clinic now than it is, because by this time of the year...
For the little kids, right? The players' kids.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so many of the families travel together because the players have to be gone so much. And the amount of money is involved if they don't have their own plane, they're sharing a plane or whatever, and it's easier to get around. So you see the little kids all the time. So families are staying together that way.
Yeah. And Western Golf and Evans Scholars, they have been known for years to be one of the tournaments back when they really were trying to attract people versus now where the top 50 are going to be there. But they take great care of the kids, the families, all the events, everything that you could possibly think of. They've already set it up. So the Jordan Spieth gets there with his family and he's like, oh, what should we be doing in Baltimore? No, here it is. Here's the tickets to whatever you want to go to. Here's where you can drop your kids off for the day. We have kindergarten teachers here. They'll go to school. So they used to call it the Wee Western. So they do a great job to make sure that the families enjoy it, because these guys, this is their work. We look at golf as a recreation, but these guys that are playing, this is their work.
Sure. And nobody's going to have a pity party for any of them. But can you imagine if you're going to work and the kids go, can I come too? Because your job by description is you're playing.
Right?
You're playing golf. But no, it's a cool thing to do. Is this a good time for you to tell me the biggest whiner on tour that would come in and see you? Or is that later? You want to do that off?
That's probably a good one for off the.
Okay. Now, I know some of the guys you loved because whether they were banged up pretty good or whatever, they were great. Like Gary Woodland, you said was a great patient.
Yeah, some of the patients are great. And Gary, I didn't look at his score yet today, but
He's playing okay. Yeah, he's playing all right in the Wyndham. Yeah.
Yeah, I need him to finish, I think, top 25 to move on to Memphis, and then he's got to have a good week in Memphis to get to BMW. But Gary's an unbelievably nice, sweet person, just amazing. And if you haven't seen what he did at Phoenix, years ago with Amy on the 16th hole, just do it. And he continues to stay in touch with her. He's
a special needs kid who, a lot of players could have just greeted and walked away. And he made her experience incredible. And turns out the kid had a great swing.
Yeah.
And he is a good dude. And again, you don't have to love golf to love good stories. He has dealt with a brain tumor, brain surgery, and wondering if he was going to die. And, the Netflix documentary series, I don't know why I'm spacing on the title, that they've done for the last 3 or 4 years has a nice chunk of Gary Woodland, and they're talking about it as well. Full swing.
Yeah. Gary's a great guy. I mean, some of my friends out there, some of them are caddies, but I mean, Gary Woodland's a great guy. Lucas Glover, everybody.
Sure.
Lucas is a phenomenal person. Kevin Kisner, great guy.
Well, it's funny too, because I love pulling for the old guys. The old guys I'm pulling for are 20 years younger than you and me. So that ain't right. Now, what about the old golfers who are listening or watching now? Have you got one or two simple pieces of advice going in the rest of the season, the fall?
For the guys listening right now, I'll tell you the biggest thing right now, and we're seeing it over and over again, is flexibility. Flexibility and core strength. You're going to have to realize you're going to give up 10, 15, 20 yards on certain shots. You used to be able to hit an 8-iron 150 yards. Don't be afraid to go down and hit that 7-iron. But really, it's working on your flexibility every day and working on your core muscles. And then in the winter, take the opportunity to do it as well.
Yeah, because as you get older, it becomes more and more important, which brings us to the general topic of medicine in general. I'm going to ask you about vaccines and things because I'm about to get my second shingles shot. What's the recommendation on vaccines now going into the fall?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what it is. I'm not a fan of Robert Kennedy.
No, me either, in case anyone was confused.
I mean, someone that takes the entire advisory committee on immunization practices and removes all 17 members and then puts in his people, many of whom are vaccine critics and vaccine skeptics, is not going to be good. They thought that they were too close to Big Pharma. They were too close to these guys. I'm sorry. They are following the science. And what's going to happen in childhood immunizations is probably the one that scares me the most. So this fall, we'll still have a recommendation for COVID, especially for those over the age of 65. We'll certainly have a recommendation for influenza. People have to understand that although COVID has really decreased the number of deaths, it's still over the age of 65, nothing to mess around with.
And it's just part of our lives now, right? It's going to be an annual thing.
100%. And I would hope that not this year, obviously, but next year, that they'll have it in one shot, that you'll be able to get the vaccine and COVID all in one vaccine.
So the flu and COVID together.
Correct. Now, the chance of that happening is decreased dramatically with Kennedy because he was a very big skeptic on COVID vaccines overall. Matter of fact, he's just taken down the recommendation for children and the recommendation for women who are pregnant to get the COVID vaccine, which just got to keep your fingers crossed and hope nothing bad happens because bad things can. But that's what's going to be in the fall is going to be influenza again and COVID booster if you're over the age of 65, if you haven't had one in the last 6 months.
What about the pneumonia shot?
Yeah, the pneumonia shot, they won't mess with that. Certainly Pneumovax, if you have it, if you haven't had the opportunity with your doctor to discuss it, you should. That's a shot that has a longer lifespan, and it's actually looking after, it's a vaccine against bacteria, which we rarely hear about, but it certainly is a good one. And then over the age of 50, if you haven't gotten shingles shot, definitely get those two. Anybody who's had shingles will be a testament to say, oh my gosh, if
You don't want
I could
it.
have had exactly. So those are really the big ones.
Now, GLP ones. That's the term. Yes.
Yes.
GLP ones are still maybe the number one or number two topic in medicine, and it seems like the more research that's being done, the more things you're finding out are beneficial from the medicine that is GLP ones. It's not just losing weight or protection for those who are diabetic. More and more is being found out. Next year you're gonna have an oral version of this, maybe two. What do you know that I don't know about GLP ones? Other than the fact that they're crazy expensive.
Yeah, and you would hope that that changes, and it really should change because insurance companies should be taking a deeper look at this, and they're probably hesitant to do it. But like you said, these drugs are, I mean, we said it a long time ago, these are going to be blockbusters from a weight loss point of view. Well, you forget about the weight loss point of view now and look at the cardiovascular point of view, look at the diabetes point of view, look at the joint replacement point of view. And you say, what do you mean by joint replacement? A lot of reasons people have joint replacements is because the amount of weight they carried earlier in their life, and they did those damage to their hips and their knees. Now if we can control that weight early on, next thing you know, we're going to be doing less of that. But the big home runs are going to be in diabetes on people are not going to lose their vision. They're not going to end up going on dialysis. They're not going to have heart issues or as many heart issues. And it's amazing. Just wait. Every 6 months, you're going to find out another reason that people should be on these drugs, which I am usually not one to say that.
No, you're not a pusher,
No.
as my mother would have said when I was growing up. Watch out for the pushers by any stretch. But this does seem like a miracle drug.
It's changed a lot of people's lives. And the big thing is going to be, again, how are we going to get the people that have lost 25 pounds or 30 pounds, and then we take them off the drug, and we say, okay, wait, I understand that, but will they still have the cardiovascular benefit? Will they still have the benefit with diabetes? Or are we going to get to a point where it's going to be taken on a regular basis at a lower dose for maintenance? In other words, we're not lose weight anymore or lose anything. We're just trying to maintain what we have, but we want to still protect our eyes, our hearts, our kidneys.
I don't want to go backward here because you and I could go off on a political rant here and be right for a long time until we decided to stop, until I hit stop on the record button. But one of the things that had come out of this insanely titled Big Beautiful Bill is restrictions and cuts in Medicaid. Now, you, as one of the folks that run a major hospital for years and years, you were dealing with this all the time. The concern is that an awful lot of people are going to fall off the Medicaid rules because of the part of the bill that says you have to work or prove that you can't work. Sense, logic, and political dialogue would make that be something that people would go, yeah, you should work if you have to. But a lot of people are going to fall off. So talk to me about where you are on that and what we don't understand.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest things with this are going to be a couple things. One, this is one of those pay me now, pay me later. And I think we've had this conversation before.
Sure, about a lot of things.
On Medicaid, I can control their blood pressure for 35 cents a day. They have a stroke, they're going to be $1 million patient in a hospital with no insurance. What's going to happen? The financial stress that's going to be put on the hospitals is going to be unbelievable. You're going to have rural hospitals closing. You're going to have inner city hospitals that are serving a Medicaid only population closing. And you're going to start to see more catastrophic illness in people. So the unfortunate thing that people are looking at, and I understand that side of, hey, if they're good enough or well enough to work, they should be working. But let's ease into this and let's figure out a way to do it properly. Because the vast majority of people who are on Medicaid need to be on Medicaid. They cannot afford the medication. They cannot afford the visits. They certainly can't afford the hospitalization. So if we think that bankrupting people and pushing them to have catastrophic illness is the right way to go, well, you know what, we're missing the boat. So people can look at it and say, yeah, they should be working if they can work, but take 2 steps back and say, wait a second, how are we going to get to that point and still protect the health of these individuals?
Yeah, and if you're not protecting their health, you are going to have the problem you're describing. You are going to pay more. They are going to be sicker, and the dominoes will fall in a very bad direction. We're already dealing with an aging population, and people are going to live forever. And if this generation of our kids lives to be 100, there's going to be the majority of them aren't, as it stands right now, going to be able to be taken care of unless they live in or around a major city. There's not enough doctors, PAs, and MPs to go around. And the next generation is going to be crucial to figure all that out. So it's not wrong to not want fraud in the system. But the assumption that everyone on Medicaid is perpetuating a fraud is insane and incredibly damaging. And that's where RFK and the Trump people come from.
Correct. So in DuPage County, close to where many of your listeners probably are, we have the DuPage Health Coalition. What the DuPage Health Coalition did years ago, I was very fortunate to be in on the foundation of that. Actually, when I retired, I was the chairman of the board. We took the individuals that fell in what we call the gap. They didn't qualify for Medicaid. They were working poor, but they didn't get insurance at their job.
Okay.
So we took those individuals and said, let's show everybody, including the county and the state and the federal government, how we can manage these patients. And we manage them better than any other health insurance company. And why? Because these are now engaged patients that say, you know what? The doctor tells me to take a medicine, I'm taking a medicine. Now I have a doctor I can go to. So I'm not going to the emergency room when in a catastrophic. We're saving you before you get to that point. With the Medicaid being gone, you just wait. You think emergency rooms are busy now? All those patients that have fallen off that now won't even have a doctor are going to be using the emergency room as their office when they have a catastrophic illness or when they have a sore throat.
And the problem is you take some of the best run hospitals like the place that you were at forever and helped build, CDH, outside of Chicago. You could regularly have a 5 to a 10-hour wait to be seen depending on what's wrong with you and what's wrong with the people in front of you. And if that's the regular doctor that these folks are going to, if you're wondering why things are so expensive in medicine, the emergency room piece of that story is a huge part of it because people should be going to doctors and they'd be able to go to doctors and it should be covered in a way that makes it affordable. And when they're not, that becomes the option.
100%. And the emergency room is not the place to get primary care.
Right.
Those doctors there are treated to take care of urgent, emergent illnesses and injuries. They're not there to make sure, because even if they bring in that 8-year-old now who's off of Medicaid because of a parent who whatever, they're not going to say, oh, by the way, you need your immunizations. I'll do your school physical. You know, have you had your pertussis? You know, all of those things that the primary care docs are ingrained in them and they think that way as soon as the patient walks in. That emergency room doctor is looking at the patient saying, all right, is this emergent? Is he breathing fast? Does he look? What's his fever? That's what they're going for, their ABCs. Whereas the primary care doctor is saying, okay, what do we need for our building blocks to make sure you have good health? It's gonna hurt. And all those hospitals that are now taking care of those patients that have no insurance, now they're getting no money from Medicaid. And believe me, 8 cents, 12 cents on the dollar is better than 0 on the dollar. So
that's what you always say. You can pay me now or you can pay me later. And, you know, it's a very serious issue to note that doctors are not coming into the system at the appropriate level and nurses and MPs and PAs are not coming in as well. Is that changing at all?
No, I think you're going to see here, we're going to have a physician shortage that's going to be really ramped up here quickly. And things like this don't make it any better. We're trying to attract the best and brightest to go into medicine, and a lot of them are not being attracted. And some of it's due to some of the doctors who are frustrated saying, you know what, if I was you, I wouldn't go into medicine. Well, we can't be saying that to kids and to people. We are fortunate, I think, that we have the advanced practice nurses, the APNs and the PAs that are help filling some of that gap. But we're going to have a problem. And our biggest problem is going to be nursing. You know, we haven't added any nursing schools, and a lot of nurses are coming out, and nurses are brilliant, great caregivers. And they're like, okay, I enjoyed doing nursing, but what's my next step? Well, I become an APN. Well, wait, we only have this pool of nurses, and if a third of them want to go on to be advanced practice nurses, now the bedside nurse and the nurse in the office, those numbers are decreased, and we have, stress of the system as well. There's hospitals now that have floors that aren't open because they can't fill the nursing shifts, not because they don't have enough patients, not because they don't have enough doctors, they don't have enough nurses.
Yeah, and it's got to be incredibly frustrating to you to know that the talent that's needed could be available if there was more of them and if they were able to be properly spread out at the right time. It's scary. It's a scary proposition moving forward without a doubt. And, there's a myth out there that guys like you play a lot of golf because you're rich and you can. I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong again. I don't know that doctors have ever been less financially rewarded for their education and their skill than they are right now.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised if they knew how much their pediatrician made, how much their family medicine doctor made. And people say, like, well, why aren't people throwing up their shingles anymore and opening offices? Why is everybody joining big practices? And it's because financially we have to. We can't afford to open an office, pay the rent, pay the staff, pay malpractice. And hospitals and health systems can pool all that with the risk and make it financially at least more attractive. But I think people would be shocked. Now, certainly there are some physicians, neurosurgeons, ophthalmologists, dermatologists, some of the high-end specialists that are compensated quite well, but there's very few of them. So it's kind of that pyramid. But you get down to that primary care level of general internal medicine, family medicine, and pediatricians, I think people would be absolutely blown away if they knew how much money they made.
Yeah, and it starts with you're not starting your career, in quotes, until you're about 35. After you do all of your training and your residency and everything else after school and after medical school. And the investment to get to that level is what, $500,000 probably?
Yeah. So when I was fortunate, as you mentioned, I was on full scholarship for all my undergrad. So I left undergrad actually with minimal debt or no debt. And I left medical school with $250,000 in debt. And that was, 35 years ago. So now it's probably $500,000. And it's tough to chip away at that nut.
Takes a while to pay it off and have a life. Let's leave it with that as well, unless you had something else you wanted to add related to medicine. But I want to make sure we get the plug in for the BMW and the charity.
No, I think that when we look at the Medicaid issue, and it's going to be a big one here, people have to understand that the hospitals also are going to suffer. And some hospitals are okay. They do well financially when they have a great community and great payer mix, and it works out fine. But there's other hospitals that, today's Friday, if payday is next Friday, they don't have enough cash on hand to pay their people. With the Medicaid cuts, they're going to get less money. And unfortunately, they're going to say, well, if we're going to keep our doors open, what happens? Well, we're going to pay less. So now you're going to have nurses leaving those hospitals to go to other hospitals. You're going to have CT techs, radiology techs, pulmonary therapists, respiratory therapists. All those people are going to be leaving because, and next thing you know, you're going to have hospitals shutting down, whether it's rural or inner city. But it could be ugly quicker than people think.
The charity that I mentioned is a well-known one for those of us who love golf as well. And there's maybe no better job in the world for a kid in the summertime than to be a caddy. You were a caddy as a kid, and that caddy job that you had not only kept you well exercised, kept you in shape, it allowed you to meet grown-ups, touch how to talk to grown-ups, and listen, maybe more importantly, and turned you into a guy who was ready to go off to school. And your reward for that was you were awarded a scholarship. Talk about the organization for a second and what kids can do to get lined up for next year.
Yeah, Western Golf Association, Evans Scholars Foundation, very fortunate. Chick Evans was a golfer that won tournaments and never took a penny. So he took those winnings and said, you know what, I'm going to send kids to college. And started with just a couple kids going to Northwestern, and now it has grown to just an amazing number, 1,200 this year. Coast to coast, we're not just in Chicago. We have Evans Scholars up in Washington. We've got them all the way to Maryland and all the way south to Florida. It's amazing right now what the team has done, and the team very well. They are great guys.
They are great.
A lot of money and are doing things. And people say, well, how does this work? Well, you have to caddy for one. You have to be a good student. You have to be in the top 25% of your class, and you have to have financial need. So they're looking at the kids that are hardworking kids, that are smart, whose parents wouldn't be able to afford a college education for them. And they give them a full Evans scholarship, a full ride for 4 years. And it includes your housing and it includes your tuition. You're still responsible for your books and you're still responsible for your meals. Many of us had meal jobs. We either cleaned dishes at a sorority or cleaned it.
Sweat equity.
Yeah, it was. And cooked in a dorm. So it was good. It allowed us to have some camaraderie and realize that, all right, we're serving meals to others who are much more fortunate than us, but hey, it just shows us how hard we're working for ours. This is a scholarship that has a graduation rate of about 98%.
How about that?
Pretty crazy, isn't it?
Amazing.
So it tells you that the selection process works well. And the process also, once you get in, it's a pride issue. So you have when you start your scholarship as a freshman, you have study hall every night except Friday. I take it back, Saturday too, Friday and Saturday. But every other night, you're expected to be in the house in a study hall, and there's a junior or senior in the study hall making sure you're studying.
How about that?
You have those guys, everybody in that house is saying, hey, you better work hard because we want our GPA to be 3.7. We want our house GPA.
You're not going to bring down our number.
Exactly. So it's that pride. So it's been great. Like you said, I was very fortunate. My younger brother, Brad, was fortunate. And the impact it makes on a family is huge. It allowed my parents to have some funds to help my other siblings to go to college that didn't get the scholarship.
So Kurt and David, your other two brothers, I know your sister's a rock star, but Kurt and David, they were kind of the lead weights.
Yeah. And they still are. They haven't changed.
Brad was an advertising guru for many, 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 many years and is now enjoying his life as well.
It's the one fortunate thing, Steve, is that you've been exposed to all of that.
Well, you might remember, I made myself an honorary most brother.
Yes, you did.
And your mom was too sweet to say you're not part of the family. It's great seeing you by this method or any other. Congratulations on your life, I guess, because it sounds like you're having a fine time. And thank you for doing this. And thank you for 500 episodes of Live from My Office.
Well, Steve, I got to say thank you too. Not only the 500 episodes, but all your years in radio, the impact that you have made, not only on the health of people, but just on their general well-being. But certainly when I look at it through my lens, the opportunity we've had to talk about specific illnesses at specific times, getting people through COVID, everything that we've done has been phenomenal. And people that don't go to a lot of charity events in Chicago don't realize the impact you make in charities too. You have emceed more charity events. You have figured out how to get that last $20 out of every person's pocket.
I love taking money from rich people.
Yep. And it goes to the bottom line of that charity. And I can ask you, Steve, will you do this for a charity? And you're like, yeah, I don't know much about them. And then you will show up and talk as if you know that charity. And that gives you the great credibility that people are just willing to raise their paddle. And you can shame people into bidding on something that they don't even need.
Yeah. Well, look, it's two things. One, kids, do your homework. And two, if you have a gift of bullshit, make sure you use it for the right reasons. So, but it's a good thing. And we've been a good pair through the years. So when you get back to town, let's get together.
Absolutely.
And it's great seeing you. My best to your family, of course. And thank you for doing this. And I'll tell Spike O'Dell you said hello.
Absolutely. Please do. We'll talk soon. Thanks for allowing me to do it.
Well, please.
Next 500. Do I get to do number 1,000?
Yeah, of course. All right. Yeah, you kidding me? Of course. And separately, we had to add this up the other day for a different project. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 12,000 radio shows where I've interviewed somewhere between 25 and 30,000 people of different types. And I say this not just because you're my friend. Top of the list, buddy. Top of the list.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. Dr. Kevin Most. It's a sitting ovation. A sitting ovation for my friend and yours, Dr. Kevin Most. Couldn't be a better guy. Thank you again, Ross Cochran. Thank you, all of you, for supporting us on the radio through all the years and on these 500 episodes of the podcast. I sure hope you can see us. Mark Giangreco live on stage with me in Naperville, the White Eagle Golf Club. Again, just check out the show notes. I think they're right down there, aren't they? Check out the show notes. And Ross right now is shaking his head and wondering about his life choices. And order tickets, or get all the details and order tickets right there. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch this show there, read Substack, and keep listening to the podcast as well. Again, the phrase that pays is It's twofold. One is if you use the promotional code Cochrane25, you can save $25 on any purchase of $150 or more at app Cochrane25. That's one thing. The second thing is I've got these gift cards to give away. Normally I've got a stack of them in front of me. I don't know, but trust me, I have them. $50 gift cards. You simply send me today's phrase that pays, and that is, I can't believe you're still doing this. We're going to go with enough already. But we go with, I can't believe you're still doing this. Put that in an email to me at thecochraneshow@gmail.com. Remember to include your home address, and I will send you an app gift card while supplies last. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Dr. Kevin Most. Join us for Anything But Politics next time when a special guest will be Spike O'Dell. I'm Steve Cochran, and thank you for listening to Live from My Office.